Hi, Coach Paget, and I'm here with 10 reasons why you keep getting injured. Okay, so reason number one, bad form. Your form sucks. You haven't learned the fundamentals, right? So all these little things, whether it's making sure your joints are lined up, whether it's stacking your joints properly, different grip positions, all these types of things. If you don't do these things correctly, if you don't learn the fundamentals of lifting and of doing particular exercises, you will end up with an injury. Let's face it, that's what's going to happen. Okay, number two. Number two, I would say no proper warm-up and or no warm-up routine. So with no proper warm-up, this is what I mean. I mean, warming up whatever particular joints you're going to be using. So some people say, oh, I warm up, I get on the treadmill and I run, or I get on the bike and I do 5 or 10 minutes before I start my weight training or my strength training. And that's not what I mean. When you're going to do weight training or strength training, the proper way to actually warm up is you want to warm up those joints. You want to get blood flow into the joints, into the muscles before you actually do the heavier lifts that you're going to be doing. This goes for anybody and everybody. Doesn't matter if you're a man, woman, young, old. You got to warm up your muscles and your joints because the blood flow that you get into those joints are very protective and lubricate your joints, and also will make you feel better. Your joints won't be as, poppy and cracky, and you'll be able to, move them a lot better and feel a lot better while you're doing the exercises, and it's safe long term, right? And what I mean by warm-up routine is having something in place like rolling out with a foam roller, rolling out with a lacrosse ball, things like that, like self-myofascial release, to basically work out some adhesions you may have and limitations you may have, limiting factors you may have in the soft tissues before you go out there and do your exercise. And this also gets the blood flow a little bit, moving too. Okay, let's move on to number 3. But by the way, if you do not warm up properly, that will get to you. When you're in your teens, 20s, you can get away with not warming up at all, pretty much, for a while. But eventually, it's going to catch up with you, and you're going to wish you would have warmed up. So try to get in a good try to learn a good warm-up routine. And it's very simple. You just do 1 or 2 sets, either body weight on a particular exercise or a very, very light weight versus what you normally do. So whatever weight you would do, 15, maybe 10, 12 reps with, you would reduce the weight by maybe 30, 40%. And, something where you can do about 20 reps or more, get the blood flow in there. And then I wouldn't even count that as a set. That's just warm up, right? And then your first actual set, it still might not be as heavy as your second and third sets. Okay. So you kind of pyramid up to the weight you're actually going to use. That's the proper way to do it long term, okay, to stay healthy in your joints and to be in the lifting game for a long time. Okay, so reason number 3, lifting too heavy too soon. Okay, it's basically trying to run before you can walk, right? And advancing too soon. So when you first start lifting, especially when you're young, but this can go for even when you're older and maybe you never lifted before and you're just starting a routine, starting a program. When you first start lifting, you'll start getting results quickly at the beginning. That's just how it goes. Your muscles will respond and you'll start getting stronger. And then you add weight, and then you get stronger, and then you add weight. And the way you know you're getting stronger is because maybe you did a certain weight. Let's say you did 50 pounds on a certain lift for 15 reps, and that was all you can get, right? And then a month later, 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, whatever it is, now all of a sudden those 15 reps feel like the way 10 reps used to feel. Now you feel like you can do 20 or 25 reps, so then you add more weight. And you keep adding more weight every time this happens, right? Or even before this happens so you can get stronger. But the problem is your muscles get stronger a lot quicker than your ligaments and your tendons do, and your joints just in general. So this process can start leading you to, and this happened to me before, I learned the hard way, but especially when you're eager and you want to get strong and you're starting to feel strong and you're like, oh, I'm going to add more weight, and then you can actually do it, you're like, wow, this is great, and you start throwing more weight on there and then more weight on there, And next thing you know, you're like, why does my wrist hurt? You're just like, I don't know, it's starting to kind of hurt when I do that exercise, or why does my knee hurt, or why does my back hurt, or whatever joint it may be. And a simple thing, especially if your form is good and you know your form is good, you might just be advancing too quickly, and that can also lead to injury. And it could lead to chronic injury, because if you don't slow down and back it up a little bit, it's going to keep hurting until it gets a lot worse, until you really get a serious injury. So sometimes when you don't know, you can't figure it out, your form's really good, you even have somebody watch your form and they go, no, your form looks great. And that's not what it is. It could just be that the weight is just a little bit too heavy. Maybe you're 5-10 pounds too heavy. Just back it up a little bit, stick with that weight for a little longer. You might have to stick with that weight for another month or so. And then you'll notice, oh wow, now I can go up, and you go up and your joint doesn't hurt anymore, you know? Or once you back down on the weight, I mean, your joint pain goes away. So let's move on to number 4. You just have bad nutrition. Your nutrition sucks, right? And what I mean by this is maybe you're not getting enough of the building blocks that you need, because when you're working out, when you're strength training and when you're lifting weights, you're tearing down the muscle, right? You're tearing down the tissues, and your body has to go back in and rebuild those tissues so that it rebuilds them a little stronger for next time, right? But if you don't have the building blocks, if you just don't have the essential proteins and the essential fats that you need in order to rebuild these muscles, you're not going to rebuild them properly. It's going to happen a lot slower, and it may not even, I mean, it's going to happen eventually, but it's going to be slower than it needs to be by the time you hit your next workout in that same muscular group, and you're just tearing down already torn down muscle tissue. So you're going to end up with an injury. Let's see. Not enough water. That goes into the nutrition section, because we're comprised mostly of water, our bodies. It's over 70% water, right? So if you're just always chronically dehydrated, you're just asking for an injury. Your energy is going to be lower, your strength is going to be lower, but more importantly, our major organs need water they need hydration to function, and they take priority over your joints, right? So since they take priority over your joints, your body will literally rob hydration from your joints in order for your major organs to function properly. And what that's going to do is it's going to dry out your joints, and you're going to put more wear and tear a lot sooner on your joints, right? So stay hydrated. I mean, it's just beneficial in general. You're going to have more energy, you're going to have more stamina, you're going to feel a lot stronger when it comes to weight training, because there was a study I remember that came out some years ago, and it said that when you go into the gym to lift weights, if you're dehydrated, you're about, I believe it said 15 to 17% weaker than if you're fully hydrated. And that's a big deal. That's a big difference. So, and it takes about 2 to 3 hours to get hydrated. So just keep that in mind. Okay, let's move on. So number 5, you never let your injury fully heal. And what I mean by this is, let's say you get a muscular strain, something happened, you pull your bicep, you pull your back. That can take 4 to 6 weeks if it's like a musculature type of injury. If it's like a ligament injury, that can take even longer. It can take 8 weeks, I believe up to even 10 weeks. So what happens is people read this online, or they read this in a book, and they go, okay, it's going to take 4 to 6 weeks, or they don't even read it at all. They wait till it feels better. But the danger in this is usually most injuries, not every injury, but most injuries, within the first 2 weeks, right after that, it'll start feeling a lot better, like almost like it's fine, right? The first week's the worst. The second week, maybe you still feel a little bit, but by the end of that second week, usually it feels like it healed already. And the problem is, it's not even done yet. It's not even close to being done, especially if it was a little bit more serious, and especially if it was in the ligament and not the muscle. Muscle heals a little bit faster than the ligaments. The ligaments take longer to lay down that fibrous tissues. So yeah, you gotta wait, and people get too antsy and anxious and they took 2 weeks off and they feel like crap and they're, oh my God, I need to work out. And then they start working out again. And I'm not saying you can't work out, but if it's a particular joint, you need to rest that area 4 to 6 weeks. I would even say if you think it's a little more serious, up to 8 weeks. Really, you got to do that, because if you don't do that, you're going to end up with a chronic injury and it's not going to fully heal. Okay. Some ligament tissues don't even fully heal anyways, even if you do let them go the whole 8 weeks. So just keep that in mind as well. It might heal up to 75 to 80%, but that's good enough to feel fine again, right? You just may not have the same stability in that joint that you once had when you were healthy. I have personal experience with all this stuff myself, but then also just working at gyms, talking to so many members and them having a particular injury and them asking me what I think about it. And I tell them, hey, 4 to 6 weeks at the minimum. And they look at me like I'm nuts, you know, and then 2 weeks later, I see them working out that muscle again. And then what do you know? A week or two goes by after that, and I see them with their joint wrapped, or, you know, they're limping or something's going on. And I asked them what happened, and they said they re-injured that area. So just keep that in mind. If you don't want to keep re-injuring an area, let it fully heal. Be very careful, because these things can turn into long-term chronic injuries, and you do not want to go that path. Trust me on that one. Let's move on to number 6. So we have not addressing limitations in your mobility, okay? And what that means is you're going to be doing exercises that you have no business doing, right? So I'll give you a little small example so you kind of get an idea of what I'm talking about. When I say limitations in mobility, I'm talking about things like having a limitation in your mobility in your shoulders. So it could be coming from somewhere in your back. And I talk about this I have a healthy shoulder routine video, so you can go check that one out after you're done with this video if you want to get an idea on what I'm talking about. But let's pretend so your shoulder blades are supposed to glide properly, right? When you do movements like, let's say, shoulder presses or lat pull downs, and maybe you have a knot in that muscle somewhere in your back, in your trapezius muscle, and now one of your shoulder blades are not gliding and moving properly when you're moving your arms. So because of that, you can't do a full shoulder press properly. So as you lift up, maybe you can only lift to here and your shoulders are kind of rounded. Maybe you have a knot in your chest. Maybe you have something like that going on, and you can't do the full range of motion, and you can't even do it properly with the proper form. It doesn't matter if you have a trainer telling you, throw your shoulders back, do it like this. You physically can't do it properly, right? And since you can't do it properly, you have no business doing a shoulder press. You just really don't. You have to go backwards and address that limitation first before you can even do a shoulder press, right? And there's certain exercises you can do. There's certain things you can do, like rolling out with a lacrosse ball in that area. You can go get deep tissue massages, all these types of things, right? And you have to do certain stretches, and you can improve your mobility to the point where you can start off with a really light weight. And once you can do that form properly and push your arms all the way up, like you're supposed to be able to, with your body in an upright position so your shoulders are not rounded, then you can start doing that exercise, right? But if you don't address these limitations, you will end up with an injury. I guarantee you that. Okay, number 7. Not addressing muscular imbalances, right? This kind of goes hand in hand with the other one we just talked about, but it's a little different, whereas you can have somebody that all they do is chest all the time and biceps, and they never do back, right? Or they do 4 exercises for their chest and they do 1 for their back, right? They're going to end up with an imbalance. And their shoulder might get injured. Or maybe they're doing nothing but crunches and ab work, but they're not doing any kind of lower back exercise, right? So their abs are really strong, but then their lower back's kind of weak. So they're going to end up with an injury back there, you know? Or they do way too many quad exercises and not anything for their hamstrings. They may end up with a knee injury, right? Because there's imbalances in these muscles, right? Your muscles, you're getting one muscle too strong, and the opposing muscle on the other side, or muscles on the other side, is going to be weak. So you're going to have this pool. So like if your chest, you're just working on chest all the time, and it gets stronger and stronger and stronger, and your back, you're not working on it at all, and it's just getting weaker. Eventually, you're going to end up with protraction like that, where you're just rounded in a protracted position. And that's not good. Again, shoulder injury right there, possible shoulder injury. It's going to happen eventually. So you want to address muscular imbalances that you may have. So then you do not get injured like that. Let's move on to number 8. Number 8, not enough rest and recovery. So that leads to overtraining. All right. And when I say not enough rest and recovery, it could mean several things. We can be talking about you're chronically lacking sleep, you're not resting enough in between workout days. So this one could be like Monday, let's say you did chest on Monday, and then Tuesday you did a workout where maybe you thought you're getting your shoulders and your arms, but then you're also including chest in there because your workout plan is not really thought out too well, and you're also involving your chest. So, and then maybe the third day, same thing. You're doing something else that's kind of using your chest. So then 3 days in a row, you're tearing down the same muscle and it doesn't have any time at all to heal, to properly heal. So yeah, so you're gonna, you gotta have enough rest and recovery. So you have to leave enough days for your muscles to properly rebuild, right? So let's move on. Number 9. Not having a routine, especially a thought out routine or a well thought out routine. And the importance of having a routine and, in having to do with getting injured is if you don't have a routine, you're gonna end up with these issues that I just spoke about. You're gonna end up overtraining because it's not well thought out. You're not planning on, this is gonna be a rest day from chest, but then by the time I get to Thursday I can do chest again because I had enough rest days, and then same thing with your legs and same thing with your back or your hamstrings or your biceps, or it has to be well thought out, right? So a routine serves a good purpose, not only to keep track of what you're doing, but also so you don't end up with an injury, right? I can go into more detail on that one, but I'm going to leave it there. We'll skip to number 10 because number 10 has a little bit to do with that as well. So number 10 is doing too many random new exercises. This is a big one. There's a lot of people that do this. They think, I just, something new, shock the muscle, shock the muscle, shock the muscle. Yes, you can shock the muscle when you're not used to a certain exercise or a routine, but just doing that all the time, every single time you work out, is too much. It's not good. I really don't think it's good. And one of the reasons why I don't think it's good is because you will never be able to figure out which exercise actually hurt you or irritated a joint, right? So since you're doing so many things and you're like being kind of ADD with it, it's so random that you're never going to know, like, why does my shoulder hurt? Well, what did I do last time? I don't know. I did all these new exercises and I'm not sure which one did it. And since it's like that every single time, you will never be able to figure out what exercise harmed you or bothered your joint or injured your knee, or you just won't be able to do it. So let's see, what else? On top of that, you're not allowing your body any time to even try to adapt to your routine, because you think that, well, it's great, I'm going to shock the muscle is going to grow, the muscle is going to get stronger, it's going to be so much better because I'm doing a new routine, I'm shocking the muscle. But there's actually a lot of good that can come out of keeping the same routine for 6 to 8 weeks or even longer than that. I'm a believer in you can even keep the same routine for months and months and months and months, because there's so many other variables that you can change within that routine. You can change like the tempo of doing the reps. You can change the weight. You can change. You could do pyramid sets, straight sets, supersets, giant sets. There's the list goes on and on and on. You can change how heavy you lift, right? Because you can do more hypertrophy work. You can do more powerlifting style work. You can do to try to get your joints stronger. You can do more circuit type training and get some more cardio benefit and be more efficient with your workouts. You can do all sorts of different types of trainings, right? So there's so many variables you can mess with, right? You can do negatives. You can do sets where you're doing sets where you strip the weight off. You could even have a lifting partner that helps you do stuff like negatives, right? But anyways, you get the point. So doing too many new random exercises is just not good. You got to have a routine, especially a well thought out routine. If you don't, you will end up with an injury, I guarantee you. And the importance with the routine is also, like I was talking about, how you won't ever know what exercise harmed you. It's kind of like having a food allergy and just always eating at a million different restaurants every single day. You will never know what ingredient you're allergic to because you can't figure it out. You just can't. There's too many different ingredients. There's too many different foods. You won't know what food or ingredient is giving you that allergy, right? So it's the same thing with lifting. I kind of feel like maybe even making up a new thing where I call it the elimination workout, right? Because there's an elimination diet where you do this diet where it's very, very, very simple, just a few foods. And then week by week, you just add one either food or one ingredient per week so you can see if you react to it or not. So same thing with exercise, right? If you're somebody that you've had a lot of injuries in the past and a bunch of different injuries affect you, or I'm sorry, a bunch of different exercises, irritate your joint or irritate your knee or your back or this or that, the elimination workout can help you because you can start off with the very, few, maybe just 2-3 exercises that do not bother you, for sure, that. And then every week you just add in one exercise and see how it goes, right? That's what I do with my clients sometimes when we're trying to figure out their body and see what exercises bother them. Like people that have had plenty of injuries in the past, right? So I'm gonna leave it there. Those are the top 10 reasons why you keep getting injured. And if you have any questions, leave them for me in the comment section below. Please like and subscribe. It helps with the algorithm. And click on that bell button so you can get notified when I post new videos. And I'll leave you with more tips and tricks. All right, everybody. I hope you have a good day. Take care and talk to you later.